As some of you guys know, most of you guys should know that during the pandemic, these conversations were started. We've done over 60 throughout this one, but this one will be the actual first one that's an in-person conversation. So I'd like to introduce our guest tonight, producer, writer, actress, mom, known for such things as Bring It On, Rules of Attraction, House, True Calling, and of course, our favorite Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Let's put our hands together for Glory, Miss Clare Kramer.
Okay, great. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hi. Everybody's so formal. We don't have to be formal. We can be casual, guys. Isn't that what this weekend's about?
It is. How have you been?
I've been good. Is this a trick question? I know I've been good. How have you been?
I'm doing good. It has been a while since you and I have met. We actually met at San Diego Comic-Con, pre-pandemic, so I want to say 3-4 years ago.
I have no lie. I was just talking to someone yesterday about this because, of course, San Diego Comic-Con is coming up, and I did the math in my head, and I think I've been to San Diego Comic-Con at every event. Of course, they skipped, 2020, and then they had the mini event last year. But I think I've been there for like 16 years running, every year. So, yeah.
I was going to say, that is the first time I actually met you in person. We were talking about something I was cosplaying, and Bai Ling jumped in between you and I and spirited me away for pictures, and I never got a chance to go back in.
Oh,
so I do
well,
apologize.
Bai Ling is a good person to steal you away.
I was going to say, when Bai Ling sets her mind on something, that's pretty much it.
That's it. Yep. I hear ya.
So, with the conversations, I usually always go ahead and put it on Instagram so people can write in. We are going to do something different this year, guys. With the whole COVID thing, I'm not going to get any questions from the audience per se. Anybody that went on Instagram knows that questions were there already. So I'm going to dig right in.
Okay.
You got a lot of questions out there.
I did. Ooh.
Yes, you did.
Ooh. Well, I may tell the truth. I may lie. I don't know. It depends on the question, I guess. And let me just say, I think that if there's time and people have questions here, we should let them.
Yes.
They came to the
You know
event.
what?
So.
We won't put a microphone out there, but this is such a small room. I think if there's time.
Yes,
can
we will
just call on you
definitely
guys.
respect
You can
you
do
for
that.
coming in person, and you can feel free to ask questions.
Rose would like to know.
Rose, okay. Yes.
I love the writing for your character on Buffy. Did you get to ad-lib anything at all as Glory?
Okay, that is a very good question. I loved the writing for my character as well. And I know that there are people in the audience that know the answer to this question because you know how Buffy was run. It was a word-perfect show. There was no ad-libbing at all. If the line was, I'm going to that other room for, autographs, and you said, I am going, then they were like, nope, cut, the line is, I'm going, not I am. So, although I would love to take credit for some of the fabulous writing of the great Glorificus, I cannot. Everything was written, and there was no room for improvisation. However, should there have been, I don't think I could have done as good. Those writers are paid for a reason. They were very, very good, and the whole thing that I really like about Buffy, as someone who was a part of it and then now has, over the years, watched different episodes and watched the series, I love the cadence of the show. And so if you have actors that are improvising, you're not going to get that stylized way. It's like Shakespeare. You don't improvise Shakespeare. It's written, you go in, you say the lines, and the lines work for a reason. And that's sort of how it was being on Buffy.
Do you feel that the show has kind of lived up through the time period with that writing about how quick-witted and snappy it was all the way through?
I think so. I think the thing that I notice now, 20 years later watching the show is that, the CGI wasn't there. Everything was done practically, which means like if there was a stunt or there was like a special effect, if there was a fire, we lit a fire, if there was, whatever, a stunt that needed to happen, we actually did the stunt. It wasn't generated on the computer. Not that that's not a great way to, watch films and television shows now, but that was not the case with Buffy. So that stands out to me as something different, but the writing, I think, holds up.
Speaking of stunts, did you do your own stunts?
Well, no one does all their own stunts because there's a thing called liability. But I did do many of them. I was allowed. Like, I think, they had a great stunt team. Obviously, Sarah had great stunt doubles throughout the years, sometimes 2, sometimes 1. There was a woman named Lisa Hoyle who doubled Julie, she doubled Charisma, she doubled myself, she worked a lot on the show. She also was like one of the best stunt women in the industry. She doubled all 3 of the Charlie's Angels in the opening scene where they jump off the cliff because they couldn't find another stunt woman who could jump the 90 feet, and free fall. So she's like that amazing. She was great, and she, would facilitate knowledge. So with the fight scenes or with, different stunts, the more that the actor was willing to do, the more the stunt team would help you. So by the end of the season, I was doing much more than at, the beginning of the season.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yes.
Paul would like to know, how do you feel going to conventions and seeing so much love for Buffy, and your character especially?
Well, I feel great. It's honestly, come on, it's been one of the highlights of I would say my life, and I'm not exaggerating, because first of all, getting to play the character that's one compartmentalized thing. It was an amazing role. It came at the right time in my life. I was very young. I'd never really done much TV or film yet. I had Bring It On just come out when I was cast. I'd done one TV show, which I was mentioning this morning, which was it was a spin-off of ER. It was a pilot, did not get picked up. So I really had no experience, really. And so combined with like the fact that I was coming into an established show with great writing, with other great actors, and also not really understanding the industry and the pressures, I kind of was free to play this character without being too concerned. So the moment in my life and playing the character was one huge gift right here. The other huge gift that has been, the longevity of the show and the passion that the fans have for the show, and that you guys have for the show, because, I've been so lucky I get to travel all over the world for conventions. The cast, we're all like best friends because of you guys became friends, we became friends, and now, I have many friends, who are in the community who I keep up with, and it's just been a huge gift. So, those two things are different, but it has combined to make like such an impact on my life, a really positive one.
Are there some castmates that you still talk to like regularly?
Of course.
I know the answer, guys, I'm just asking.
Yes, I love, really everyone. I haven't seen Yadi in quite a while, so it's very nice. We were just starting to catch up. I see Julie all the time. Charisma, I talk to all the time. Charisma is like my own little motivational friend. She's constantly texting me like positive quotes and Instagram, like, this is you. She's very loving and warm and giving. Julie and I just laugh. I love Amber, Jay, Emma. There's not one. I don't see Sarah a lot. I actually don't think I've seen her in like 15 years or maybe something like that. And I saw Allison last in Portland with Alexis, which was great, but I haven't seen her as often as the other cast members, but we're all very close, very, very close.
That's nice. That is nice.
And we support each other, we support each other on other projects. I would say there's not, sorry to cut you off going into your next question, but, I just want to say, like, another gift has been, having friends that are in the industry, especially during COVID, when the whole dynamic of auditioning and getting cast and something changed, you know, and people had to start doing self-tapes because nobody was going into rooms and everything was over Skype or send in your self-tape, you know, the way that we all work together, nobody's competing. Julie and I, Charisma and I, we've all been up for the same roles. We help each other. We give each other ideas. We tape, you know, I go to Julie's, I tape her, she tapes me. I mean, it's just, that's the level of friendship. It's not like, oh, hey, we're friendly. No, we're all we're really best friends.
And it's funny that you mentioned Ayati, because when I met her out in the lobby this morning, that's one of the first things she asked. She's like, so, did Claire make it already? Is she already here? I was like, yeah, Claire made it last night. Oh, is she already in the room? Where can I? And she's already asked.
I know, I'm so excited to.
It's nice.
Yeah, it's great.
Alex would like to know, were you a fan of Buffy before being cast?
It's not that I was a fan or I wasn't a fan. I didn't really know the show. I had just finished filming Bring It On with Eliza Dushku, of course, who plays Faith. And when I got the audition, the material they sent me for the audition, and I'm sorry because I've told this story a bunch, so I'm sorry if you've heard it, but for anyone who hasn't, they just sent me like 2 plain pages of dialogue, no character name, no description. Actually, the only description was female, and I was like, okay, I'm female. I have that going for me. But it was just very basic, like, material. So I called Eliza, and I was like, I got this on it. She's like, definitely go, you know, in true Eliza fashion. And I'm like, okay, what should I do? She's like, just do something different. Like, just do something different, because, you know, everybody's gonna come in and do the same, like, boring read. Like, just do something different. So I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I'll do something different. What is that gonna be? So I had just watched The Shining with Jack Nicholson, and so I, for my audition, channeled Jack Nicholson for the Glory character, and that was like how Glory was born. That's the origin story. Point being, back to your original question, I had not seen the show. I had gone over to Eliza's because she did a crossover episode. So I went over, she had like a viewing party, we watched the crossover episode, that was great. But that was the only time I had seen the show. So I started watching after I got cast. Yeah.
Okay. Cynthia, now that we know Jack Nicholson was the inspiration for you, wants to know, how fun was it to play such a maniacal villain?
She was not a villain. She was misunderstood. She just wanted to go home. Betty, who doesn't want to go home? I did not play her as a villain, although she was very fun to play. You know, I got to, like, I mean, the words were so playful, the scenes were so playful. Everybody's all serious and like, oh, Buffy, like the sister, and Dawn, and all and the death of the mom, and I'm like, ha ha ha, you know. I'm not so worried at work. I don't have to make myself cry. Like, I'm good. So it was very, very fun. Yeah.
What was it like to play the main antagonist of Buffy, following so many other...
Well, I didn't know.
Oh, that's true.
I didn't know, so the pressure was off. You know, really, truly. I think, I was saying this at breakfast as well, like, I think it would have been much harder for me to play the role if I were further along in my career, or in my, you know, further along, because there's this weird part in acting where, like, you have your first break, you do a couple things, and then you go through this period, like the dead zone, where you're like, I suck, I'm horrible, I'm never gonna work again, and I think that everyone does. I'm pretty sure every actor has been in that place, and you know, I wasn't aware, I wasn't self-conscious when I was playing Glory, so it was very freeing and very fun.
What's it like coming to conventions now and being next to Mark Metcalf, who was the original villain in Buffy, for you guys to kind of compare stories? Because Mark has been cast as a bad guy his entire career, basically. What's it like, you guys telling stories about being on set?
You know, it's fun to catch up with, like I mentioned, I love Mark, he's so sweet. it's fun to catch up, and I don't know if we've necessarily swapped stories about playing like the big bads, so you've given me something to think about for later today at the, what's the name of the party tonight? Is there a party? There's like 4 parties. You guys like to party. It's one thing about the Buffy people, never afraid of a party.
Dead man's party thing.
The Dead Man, what, isn't there also like a 80s party?
That's the
90s.
one after Dead Man's
That's the party after the party. And then there's like probably another party that is like a room party. Who's gonna fess up to having that one? But yes, you've given me something to think about. But again, it's not so much about swapping stories with like on set this, on set that. It's about like, I respect Mark a lot, his acting, obviously, he's a great actor. I want to hear about like his life, what are you doing creatively, like, you know, what's going on?
Okay.
Yeah. Do we
Not
wanna...
how long you sat in the makeup chair for.
That is not, that's another great thing about Glory. She did not have to sit in the makeup chair. Natural beauty. Do we want to like have a question from out here and mix it up a little?
Who has a question, guys?
And if you don't, he has a stack of cards.
I do have a stack of cards, yes.
Yes.
I have a story. How did you hear about the role of Glory?
Well, for better or worse, we have agents and managers that they send the auditions to. So they sent me the audition. It was really as simple as that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not very exciting. I don't think they auditioned actually that many people. When I went the first day, it was myself and a couple other girls, and then a couple guys, and so I was like, oh, that's weird. Maybe they have these guys, like they all kind of look alike. They kind of look like me. Maybe there's a brother, or you know, like maybe she has a twin or something. And then the next day, what happened was they actually called me as I was walking to my car. I don't know if you guys ever went to the Stewart Street lot or did any of those tours, but the production building was here, and it was like a substantial 5-minute walk.
Yeah, it's a long walk.
So I was walking to my car, and they called me on my like archaic cell phone, opened it up, and I was like, and they said, whatever you did, just do it tomorrow. They want you to come back tomorrow, just do the exact same thing, wear the same thing, do your hair the same way, all this stuff. So I said, okay, all right, fine. So I went back the next day, and it was just me and Charlie Weber there. And like, he went in, and then I'm like, oh yeah, they're definitely twins. You know? And then he went in, did the audition, came out, and then I went in, did the audition, came out, and then Joss came out and was like, well, you both have the job. And I was like, wow, Hollywood's amazing. It's so easy.
And honestly, folks, it's what we say when you do that. Oh my goodness, this is a piece of cake, right? I can do this all the time.
Exactly.
Thinking that you guys are going to be playing twins, little plot twist there?
Well, you know, here's another interesting thing. It's funny that you mentioned that. I never found out anything about the character before I got a script. So the script where it's like, you know, it's revealed that Glory's a god, I was like, are you kidding me? Like, they couldn't have told me that at the beginning of the season? I'm actually glad they didn't, because I probably would have like felt all this pressure to play her like a god, whereas I just played her as her. And that was an outside circumstance that ended up being introduced. But we weren't, especially like, we were like newbies on the show. We weren't given any of the inside scoop of anything. So I found out that we were the same person when that script came out.
So, who has a question about it? There we go.
So, now that you've seen the show, and now we're going to consider you a fan, because you're in a room of fans who work for fans. Knowing now what you didn't know then, if you could go back and replay Glory, would you play her exactly as you did, or would you change something?
Well, okay, so if I went back to my 22-year-old self or whatever, I would not change anything. However, if I were going to play Glory as a woman in my 40s, I'm sure that I would play her a bit different, because I'm a different person. I've had 2 more decades of living, and you know, a lot of stuff has happened in my life, and for me, the beautiful part about acting is bringing my own experiences into a character. So yes, now she would be a different person, However, okay, so there's really a couple answers. Young Claire, same thing. Me now playing the character without, it's not meant to be a continuation of the same character. Original Glory would be different, but I'm not sure how until I would kind of like investigate that. Glory, 20 years later, same but older. So 3 different answers, I guess.
So not that my opinion counts or anything, but I personally felt that you brought the right amount of batshit crazy.
Thank you.
Susie, I can't say that when I'm up here.
So I said it for you, Ray.
You did. I use maniacal. She said misunderstood. You hit it right on the nail on the head right there.
Yeah, I haven't shown, okay, so my kids who are 14, 12, 10, and 8, they have seen a lot of stuff I've done, but they haven't watched Buffy yet. I think they're ready, and I let them watch anything, so like, it's not that. Like, they were watching Walking Dead, and they watch it all. But I think that my oldest definitely now, like she's just finished Pretty Little Liars, she's watching Yellow Jackets. I'm like, okay, I think you're ready. You're ready for the Buffy introduction. So that's maybe something I'm gonna do this summer, is introduce her, and we'll do the marathon over the summer. Yeah.
Marathon.
Yes, yeah.
You should do a podcast if you do that as you go through with her every episode.
Great idea.
I know, I've been thinking about that. Okay, so it's funny you mentioned, I do have a podcast, and it's about fandom, actually. It's called Fanatics, but it's spelled Fanaddics, and it's about like what people love. So like, for example, Darla Julie came on and talked about her love of The View. You know, Charisma came on and talked about her love of good mental health awareness. Michael C. Hall came on and talked about his love of Chip Gaines from Fixer Upper. He loves Chip, and I put them in touch on Twitter, and now they're friends. They're having a podcast.
Never seen that one coming.
I mean, Tony Hale, of course, from Veep, came on and talked about his love of indoor malls. So it's a great show. The point is, you talk to this amazing actor who you absolutely love about something that has absolutely nothing to do with their career, but it is fandom based, and that is something that I thought of because of these conventions that I go to, and I'm like, it'd be really interesting to talk to like the people we love, the actors I love, about something that they love in their own life and not just their career. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Check it out if you have a chance.
So if you were on your own show, what would you talk about?
Oh my God, I'm obsessed with so many things. This is actually one of the problems, because after each episode, I'm like, oh, I'm totally gonna get into like, whatever that is, you know, whatever. To the point where when I did Bring It On, the cheerleading movie, I was like, after the movie, I'm like, I'm just gonna quit acting and be a cheerleader. I did not do that. What did I talk about? I love going to thrift stores and like finding really cool stuff. I love collecting. I love collecting like cloisonne. I had a chair collection at one point that I had to get rid of because it was like after I had like 40 chairs and the garage was filled. We took a family vote and the chairs got voted out. I love yoga. I probably wouldn't do a podcast about that though. I don't know, I love so many things. Like, it's interesting because when we talk to the PR company or we talk to like whoever we're booking, you know, we'll be like, okay, well, what is your client, like the process once they're talking to the producers, like, what is your client like? And they'll be like, oh, they like musicals or something. And then we'll like start, you know, really dialing it down, and like people don't immediately think of whatever their topic is. They think of something broader. We're like, no, we want to be like really, really specific. So there's episodes about moleskin notebooks. There's episodes, like I said, about Chip Gaines. There's episodes, Greg Grumberg talked about Ford Broncos. We just had a girl come on who talked to Ping Pang from TikTok. She's on TikTok. She came on and talked about her Nintendo Switch, which again, I was like, I need to go buy one immediately. So yeah, I gotta think about what I would talk about. I'll let you know. All right, you want to take another
I
question?
can take more. Does anyone else?
Sorry,
have
I'm a
questions?
control freak, so I'm like, that's something that I brought to the character.
When I thought Susie out there was going to ask you, we had kind of touched on you and Charlie Weber going in as Painting's Glory. So you know that is huge fodder as far as Buffy fans go. So Stacy had to ask, and I think everyone here wants to know, what is your take? Is Ben Glory or is Glory Ben?
Well, Ben is just a human vase, a vessel for Glory to jump in and out of. He's his own person. So it's not that simple, okay? But I will tell you guys, I have a theory so basically to answer your question, Glory's Glory. The Glory has the power to body jump into Ben and was, forced to live in that body until the end when Giles suffocates Ben, where she body jumps into Giles. And that's where the story should pick up.
Spoilers.
And that's where the story should pick up. If I bring Glory back.
Jamie asks, being a full-time mom, do you find the time to act as much now, especially during COVID?
I am a full-time mom, but I also am still a full-time, person who works. So yes, I find the time, although I don't want to do like a big location shoot now, because I don't want to leave my kids for that long. They're only young ones. And I really said, I'm dedicating these 2 decades to my life with my kids. Acting is going to be there. It doesn't go away. It doesn't disappear. In fact, I think it'll probably get more interesting when I'm in my 50s, the characters and whatnot. So I don't have a problem not taking certain projects or roles right now. I love acting, but I also love creating, and that's something else that I've learned about myself is I'm just as happy, writing, directing, or knitting, painting, it's dancing. I love yoga, same thing. I get fulfillment from doing that. So there's not just one creative outlet for me. I'm kind of like a equal opportunity creative person. But yes, being a mom is my primary job for last decade and this decade. And then, when I get all the kids safely out of the house, or maybe not out of the house, but they're older, then I'll revisit hardcore acting.
How do you feel COVID, this is our first convention in 2 years, how do you feel COVID impacted you and your family?
Well, anyone with kids can tell you it was horrific. I mean, it's not a joke. It's the alcoholism is up amongst, mothers and mothers with kids that are in their, elementary school, junior high age. In March of 2020 through June, when it was just me, my kids, and I was the cook, the cleaner, the teacher, and 4 kids in 4 different grades, and that was before Zoom was kind of developed where you could have a Zoom link in perpetuity or a dedicated Zoom link that stayed the same link. So each day there were each kid was getting 7 or 9 Zoom links, plus I had meetings, and I remember someone I was working with at the time was like, now, is this gonna impact your ability to work? And I was like, well, fuck yes it is. Fuck you for asking that. So it was really hard. Then after they got out in June, I had time to okay, this is not going away. Because remember, it was 2 weeks to flatten the curve, and we'll be out of here in 2 months. And then it became apparent that was not going to happen. So I've partnered with 3 other families who go, my children's school is K through 8, it's a private school. So I partnered with 3 other families, and we hired a teacher. There were 9 kids total, my 4, and then 5 other kids. We hired a teacher who came to our house every day and changed the back section. I have a large back, sunroom or whatever. I changed that into a schoolroom. We put, 9 desks in there. The teacher had a desk. Each grade had their own little section. And we ran school out of my house for a year. And that was not easy either. Even though the kids had a separate entrance, they were still on Zoom from school. They had a teacher, but it was a huge deal, So I actually had a photographer come, document it, because I'm like, this is history. Like, this is what's happening in 2020. So COVID has had a huge negative impact on the entire world, I think. You know, of course, people can say, oh, there's positive things that came from isolation, or, you know, positive. Yes, of course there are, but it's a traumatic event, you know, where many people died, many people were sick. It really was a struggle for many families, you know, and it became a socioeconomic issue as well, because there was definitely a trickle down of, like, the hierarchy got certain things. You know, it's just a socioeconomic issue as well, which is too much to get into right now. But it was hard. It was not only hard, it was life-changing for everyone, I feel.
How do you feel the impact of all your friends in the industry? You had mentioned earlier that, like, charisma sending you uplifting messages. During that time period, I think, especially with Zoom coming to the forefront, a lot of people were able to kind of reconnect and just check up on each other. Even though you couldn't see anybody in person, how important was that, you know, you knew Julie was a phone call away, or Charisma was a Zoom call away?
Well, Julie and I were in a pod. She was in my pod. Charisma lives a little further away, so she's not. You know, honestly, that was not a big thing. Like, that's just friendship over, you know, 2 decades of friendship. It didn't really exemplify or not exemplify it. It just, you know, was part of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. But I did have more Zoom dates with my friends on the East Coast, which, you know, before COVID, nobody really had heard of Zoom. So.
True. Brenda asks, how empowering was it to portray such an omnipotent God, in quotes, on television?
I didn't think of it as empowering at the time. I was just really obsessed with, like, the character and doing the character justice, and, like, I wasn't looking at her as a role model or a beacon or a, you know, icon or anything like that. I think that would have given me a, like, shaded view, just like I didn't look at her as a villain. You know what I mean? But I will say it's great to be able to say those words and you know, say that. The dialogue was great, and I guess it felt maybe empowering to me as a person to be able to say that, but I didn't view her as an empowering character at the time.
What's it like looking back now, as we're in the 25th anniversary years? How's
20th for me.
Now, how much, not just Glory meant to so many people, but just all those characters in general. This fandom it seems like it's continuing to spread. Newer fans are coming on board. And I mean, I'm sure we can go out there and find a Glory on a t-shirt out there. What's it like to see yourself on that shirt?
It's just a feeling of gratitude that not just the character, but the show was able to affect so many in a positive way.
Do you guys have any other questions? Well, yes.
Do you have a funny story from set?
I have a few, although it was a serious set. It was not like, I've been on other sets. I did a movie, if you guys probably haven't seen it, but you should check it out. It's kind of like a Ghostbusters. It's called Big Ass Spider. It's with Greg Grumberg and Labardo Boyer and Ray Weiss, a very funny movie. And I don't even think we had a script. I'm not even sure we had a script on that movie. We literally laughed the entire movie. So that was an example of like just a super fun movie. Buffy was not, it was not like fun in that sense. It was a serious show. It was long hours. I came in the 5th season. Everyone was tired. And a lot of my scenes were with either Dawn or the Minions. But there were funny moments. I gotta think of a particular funny, I can tell, this is like, I don't know if it'll be funny to you guys, but it was funny to me at the time. So my stunt double, Lisa Hoyle, I think we were filming like the 100th episode or maybe the episode before the 99th. And there's a scene where like basically you see like, it was where I kick Buffy's head off and I'm like, the Slayer's a robot? Did anybody know the Slayer was a robot? And when I kicked her head off on set, they wanted like a little fire that like sparked a little bit, you know, if you see the head roll down there and whatever. So they went to, you know, they put a ladder up, I was standing on the ladder, Lisa, my stunt double, had like the shoe on and it was her feet in there, that were supposed to be my feet, and then like this whole thing was like, you know, 8 people with fire extinguishers around, and we do it, and the stunt, and it's literally like, see, like this is the tiniest little spark, and Lisa and I were like, that's it? That's it? Okay, so that was kind of like a funny moment.
What were the hours like on set? What time did you roll into set?
Well, Monday morning, keep in mind, you know, I was not someone who'd been on the show for 5 years, so they were like, if someone has to come in early, it's her. So I would be in at like 4:30, 5 in the morning, Monday morning, getting ready, like full days, always 12-hour days, if not more. And then by the weekend, because it took 8 days to shoot an episode, if I'm remembering correctly. So by the weekend, we were like, Monday, for example, the call tape would be like 4:30 in the morning. Tuesday, it would be like 6:30 in the morning, because we would have gone until 6:30 at night. So then they have to push it, you know, 12 hours. So then we'd go till like 8:30. So then Wednesday, it'd be like 8:30 or 9 in the morning. And then Thursday, it'd be like 11 in the morning. And then by Friday, your call time was like noon or 1 p.m., which meant you were going till 6 a.m. So it was long hours, very long hours. I understand, like, you know, there's rumors out there, and I will say I did not experience any of this, but there's rumors out there, oh, Sarah was difficult to work with, or blah, blah, blah. I found her absolutely lovely, very professional, and absolutely had never even saw anything rude or unprofessional or anything like that. But I understand, like, she's the lead of the show, she's in every freaking scene, and she's gonna get tired, you know? Those are long hours for someone who's like 18, 19, 20.
Yeah. You're going to bed one day at night, the next day you're going to bed.
And the body is not meant to do that. And you know, nowadays, talking about like being picky with, with, you know, projects, I'm all, let me ask you this. Where does it shoot, and what are is it night shoots? Because I don't like to do night shoots anymore. I'm too old, you know? I want to get up, FaceTime my kids, like return emails like a normal human being, and not, you know, not be shooting, you know, all night and then sleeping all day. It's not natural.
You mean you don't like driving home from set at like 9 a.m. in the morning to go to bed?
It's totally unsafe. Like, I remember driving home, not just from Buffy, other projects too, driving home and just being like, you know, like falling asleep and being like, oh my God, I gotta stay awake, you know, I gotta just make it home. Thankfully now, you know, there's more options with Uber and Lyft and things like that. Anyway, it was long hours. That's no joke.
Karina had asked, you played, well, first she says, you played Glory amazingly well.
Thank you.
Did you find yourself connecting with the character?
Of course, like she was an extension of me. You know what I mean? Does that mean I would do or say or be like Glory? No, but I'm still me playing a character, so she is going to be an extension to some extent of my life experiences. So yes, I believe in her. I love Glory. I'm Team Glory.
Susie stepped out, but I was going to say, no, Susie, that does not mean that Clare here is batshit crazy.
Exactly.
Any other questions for, yes?
Was it more difficult for you to get the fight scenes down for Buffy or the cheers from Bring It On?
The cheers. So with Bring It On, they sent us to it was a 5 or 6 week, like basically cheerleading boot camp. When we did the auditions, we had to show that we had to do a cheer in the auditions, but then they were like, okay, can you do a cartwheel? Can you do the splits? Can you do a back handspring? Like we had to do like everything we could do, like in this little audition room, you know, over at Universal. So they knew most of the people they had hired would be able to do the routines because no one had a stunt double except Kirsten, and it wasn't because she probably wasn't able to do it. She was filming Virgin Suicides. So she literally came like 2 days before we started filming, you know? So, yeah, there were like 4 actors fired who couldn't keep up with learning the routines and who couldn't keep up with learning everything. So it was definitely harder. I remember like being like, just don't get fired, just don't get fired. And I would never be like the first one to get it all down, but I would never be the last. So I knew I was safe. As long as I stayed somewhere in the middle with like the learning of it, yeah.
Are you surprised that Bring It On, the popularity of that? I mean, I know they made several ones after that, but Bring It On, I mean, that is...
So, funny story, okay, when I was auditioning for Bring It On, it was called Cheer Fever, and it was called that all through production. It didn't get changed to Bring It On until shortly before the film got released. And I remember at the time Universal was filming the American Pie series, and they were filming American Beauty with Kevin Spacey and Mina, what is her last name?
Kelly?
Yes. So they were kind of like not really paying attention to this movie down in San Diego. We shot in San Diego, you know, like no one. The only time we ever had execs come down, no lie, is the car wash scene. We're all basically naked, you know. And then there was like, oh yeah, there's 15 execs coming down from Universal today, and they made us reshoot the scene. A couple weeks later, oh yeah, we're gonna shoot that car wash scene again. Everybody's coming down again. But other than that, like they basically left us alone filming, so nobody really knew. And my manager at the time, you know, when he was like, yeah, this movie, I was even told by my managers and agents, so I was auditioning for Bring It On at the same time as I was auditioning for a movie called the Untitled Dance Movie, which ended up being called Center Stage, right? And so I was literally going, and with Bring It On, I auditioned 4 times for Kirsten's part, and they were like, yeah, we're gonna make you an offer to play Torrance if Kirsten Dunst doesn't accept it. And at the time I was like, oh, she's not gonna accept it. She's like doing Virgin Suicides, she's like Interview with the Vampire, she's famous. Well, she took the part, so then I had nothing. And so I was like, just tell them I'll audition for anything, I don't care. They're like, no, they really see you as like Torrance, so sorry, it's not gonna work out. I was like, no, tell them I'll audition. How about Courtney? I can play mean, you know? So I had to do 4 more auditions for the role of Courtney. And while I was doing those auditions, I was auditioning for Center Stage. And I had a background in dance. I danced growing up, I was a ballet dancer. And so I was like, that was going really well, and this had kind of like, gone well, then went really shitty, and then was going well again. And there was this one morning where they were like, okay, you have to audition, they want you for your final audition, 10 a.m. at Universal, but the dance audition for the Untitled Dance Movie starts at 10:30 in Santa Monica. And that's like basically an impossible drive if you know LA. You know, and they were like, we think you should drop the cheerleading movie, just drop it and just go to the dance audition. And I was like, no, I'm gonna go to both. I'm like, I can do it, I can totally do it. And so they talked to the casting director for Bring It On, and they got me in like right at 10 o'clock, and I like changed in the car while my friend was driving me because I didn't have a driver's license yet because I'd been living in New York, and my friend's like speeding to Santa Monica, and I get there and I do the thing, and lo and behold, the one that they told me to drop is the one that I ended up getting cast in. So don't ever, listen to your own instincts, that's what I want to say.
Did you fire that manager?
No. No.
Okay, I saw the time from them. I think we have time for one more question. What do you got?
Silly question. Do you still remember any of the routines from Bring It On?
Oh my God, I have a memory. Like, I wish I could forget stuff. I was in Annie when I was, I think, 12 or 14 years old, young. You know, I did a lot of theater growing up. I remember everything from that. I remember everything from Bring It On. Every cheer. No, I will not do it. But maybe later if you buy me some drinks. Yes, unfortunately, that is. I have a great memory for that kind of stuff. I would like to forget stuff. Like, please.
You know, everyone, with Dead Man's Party and the prom afterwards, there'll going to be some drinking, and I'm sure
sure we can persuade.
I'm not sure you can persuade me. Yeah, that's a
All right,
lot. That's a mega plant.
I think we are out of time, so everyone put your hands together. Thank you all for coming.
Fun to be back and talking to everybody, so thank you. Appreciate it. Thank
And
you.
she will be across the way in the Vendors Hall, so please come say hi, okay?
Yes, it is true.